Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Long Distance Work-Life podcast, where we try to make sense of the crazy, emerging, constantly changing world of remote and hybrid work. And today I'm really excited. This is an important topic, and we haven't really addressed it before. But one of the most important things in anyone's career is the ability to manage projects. And you don't have to be an official PMI blessed project manager because there's all kinds of projects. And we have an excellent guest today. We are going to introduce you to, and here she is now, Kory Kogon, who is the co-author, along with Suzette Blakemore, of project management for the Unofficial Project Manager. Ta-da! Kory, who are you and what the heck is the book about?
Hi, Wayne. First of all, thanks for having me. And I serve as a vice president of content development for Franklin Covey, if you're familiar with that organization, hailing from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People as the where it all started. And I am the lead author on our work around project management. I tend to be what they call the subject matter expert, although I'm not an expert. On many things, productivity and leadership. So having run many projects in my life as an unofficial project manager, I'm a scarred unofficial project manager and just delighted that this book is so popular for people like me and others.
Yeah, I think a lot of us did our first project management before we knew that's what we were doing. I kind of explained it to somebody once. The projects run the range from cooking dinner for your spouse to, putting on a high society wedding. And while they are essentially the same thing, there are levels of complexity and craziness that go along with it. Why do you think people find themselves in unofficial project management? How does one find oneself in that space?
Well, first of all, you're exactly right. So since the beginning of time, if you were cooking dinner at the hearth for your family, or having a family reunion or whatever, everything that has a beginning and an end, is a project, personally and professionally. So it's always been that way. But in the workforce in particular, over the years, as we've moved from, sort of the factory, the assembly line process kind of work, and we've slipped into the roles of being knowledge workers, where we're paid to think, innovate, create, and execute, we are tasked today with working on things that have a beginning and an end. And I think the pandemic really helped solidify that, as we had to be very innovative very quickly and create new things to be able to adjust to the new world. And whether you are creating a marketing campaign, a learning program, a new system, whatever, it all is projects, and we think about them, we innovate them. And so, like you said, Wayne, we've been doing it for a long time. And I said, I'm scarred. Everybody's very good at what they do, but never had the benefit of real training or learning around processes and systems. And we just pushed our way through to the best of our ability.
I think a lot of people, when they hear project management, their brain immediately goes to the very complex, Project Management Institute, PMI, Gantt charts and stuff. And there's, software and things that I need to know. What are the things that I don't think you've ever been asked this question this way before. When you start doing projects, what are the things that you absolutely need to know? And what are the things that, especially early on, you shouldn't worry your pretty little head about?
Well, that's an interesting question. I'm going to reverse it on you, because I think the first thing you need to look at is some of the trends around why projects fail. And the things that we hear, and data shows this. Whenever I ask an audience, I could be in the UK, in Africa, anywhere, and I get the same list. Is a lack of clear goals or outcomes, lack of communication, people are in the wrong roles, all of those kinds of things. And when you hear that, what comes clear and cutting through the noise, like you said, and, PMI certainly they've done some amazing work out there as well, particularly with their new edition of the PMBOK, their new standard. But what's really required up front is to get a good scope on the project, that everybody really understands what the project is and the value that it's providing, whether to your family or the organization. And this comes out of the agile movement that is so popular now, where we had to be a little more flexible about things and get feedback and build value, because a lot of projects end up getting done and don't even look like what they were to start with. So scoping the project is really important. Planning is next. You mentioned the Gantt chart. Yes, it gets complicated, but honestly, with us, we say, you don't have to become an expert at a Gantt chart, but understanding some project management principles like dependencies, duration is really helpful to take some of the pressure off of somebody that's managing 6 or 7 different projects. But I'll tell you that the most important part of project management, whether you're official or unofficial, I mentioned value, and it's people management and leadership. And the interesting thing is that there are many project managers out there that never wanted to be people leaders. They just wanted to be their own office.
I can't tell you how many PMI meetings I've been to where people say, well, all these soft skills are great, Wayne, but I'm not a people manager. And I want to grab them by the lapels and go, you better be.
Yeah. And because really, I mean, if you think about it, I mentioned the failure list to you before. So you see this list, it's lack of communication, lack of clear goals, lack of, whatever feedback. And then you're like, hey, we're going to do this project. Let's go get them. And so the people, because of these trends, go into most projects pretty darn disengaged to start. So that's one problem. But again, a lot of people never planned on being people leaders. And so it's really important that they learn a little bit about informal authority and the principles around you're not going to get this project done well without people. And so
the informal authority, I think, is so critical, because I know that most of the projects I've worked on are ad hoc teams, right? They've been put together with a person from this group and a person from this group. And more than once, as a project manager, I've had somebody look at me and go, you're not my real boss.
Right. Sorry, did you want to finish that? I interrupted you.
Well, no, I mean, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This idea of responsibility without formal authority is one of the hardest things when organizing a project.
Right. And it is interesting because people know what informal authority, really is. Because, a lot of people, it's like, oh, I wish I could report to that manager, to that person. They're not even a leader, but they're so, good at what they do, and they respect people and all that kind of stuff. So that's what informal leadership really is about. It's, do people want to play on your team, and do they want to win with you? And if you can do that, that's great. And, this better than most. There's a million leadership courses out there, that people can take in leadership development. And honestly, what we say is that if we can just master 5, behaviors, leadership behaviors, and your parents probably taught you this, but it's hard when you're under pressure. But if people could, project managers can really demonstrate respect. They listen to people, they clarify expectations for the people on the team, and really important, they extend trust to the team versus I can do it all myself, or I don't trust them. And finally, practice accountability, both of themselves first. Am I accountable to this? and their people. And I think you know this. I'll tell you, I mean, it's tough because, first of all, demonstrating respect under pressure can be. I'm from New York City originally, not to brand New Yorkers, but I know, I've got a New York kind of way. And when I'm under pressure, it's like, let's just get it done. And I have to remember, I need to just remember that not everybody moves the way I move or thinks the way I do. So what does respect look like? So these 5 behaviors are really helpful to help people become informal leaders.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And that's a mindset kind of thing, right? As a leader, this is the mindset that we need. But let's take that mindset now and move it to the world that we're in, where a lot of us cut our teeth on our first project, but we were safely in the womb of the office or the headquarters, and the boss was there to help run under us with a net if we needed it, and that kind of thing. And now we are working in a dispersed workplace.
Right.
Maybe some of your folks are in one place, maybe not. I mean, whether it's hybrid or completely remote, how does that complicate the situation?
I don't know if complicate is the right word in our organization. First of all, I've been remote for a long time. I mean, really, before it was even popular.
Neither of us needs to do the math.
Right. And our organization has also, for the last probably decade now, has been mostly remote. I guess you call it hybrid today. And I said, I don't know if the word is complicate, but again, the experience of some of these people that are managing projects, they don't have, they don't come ready with the skills. Well, I can't see them. So how do I manage them? And the principles behind unofficial project management and people management and value management are sound, are correct. And I will use the word complicated. I think it does get, it is more complicated because these leaders obviously need to do this when people aren't around them. Having said that, I'll go back to what I said. Even if we're doing this by Zoom or Teams or whatever, really key, if you are scoping, planning the project, using some tools in a way that there's real clarity for everybody on the project team to know what's going on. And with that in mind, when you have like a visual scoreboard, we call it, of the project, and you're able to assign, and you help, and with your team together, assign resources appropriately. And sorry to use a sports analogy, but even create a cadence of team meetings that's not about the leader telling people what to do, but everybody having visibility into what's going on with the project and people stepping up and saying, you know what, we're crazy busy this week, but here's the one thing I'm going to get done this week that's going to make sure that the project is in play. And the leader steps back and only does what we call clear the path. Meaning, I'm just going to Wayne's going to do this thing. Facilities isn't responding to him. I'm going to make sure that they respond so he can continue that task. The last thing I'll say on that. So if the team is engaged in that kind of way and you're leading in that kind of way, all of this is around extending trust to the team. So if I've got the right team together, and by the way, we don't always get to choose that, as we know, but if I generally have the right team and I'm inspiring them to want to play on the team and win, I extend trust to them and I make sure I'm practicing accountability with myself as the model, then even, you can cut through remote and hybrid. Yep. And nothing's perfect. So you're going to have issues along the way, but it shouldn't be that complicated.
One of the things that that you said, and I want to drill down in it to the very practical level, because a lot of people listening to this, maybe, they think that they need Microsoft Teams and they need Basecamp and all these fabulous tools. But right. You said you need a visual dashboard, that people need to be able to see where they are at any given time. What are the kind of absolute basic tools that will enable a new unofficial project manager to do that?
Really, whatever you want. But I mean, so in all of our research, and every time we add, we do polls on this, and we say, what's your go-to? And the answer is Excel. Excel always comes out number one. And again, I want to be careful about the Gantt chart. If you don't want to use it, don't. I'm not about telling people what tools you have to use. If Excel works for you, fine. You can organize it, and then you can put that up. People can see that. I do think that using some of the other programs out there, and there's a lot of new ones out there, but that has Gantt chart capabilities in it, and really very simplified. I call it demystifying the Gantt chart in just a couple of minutes. This idea of tying dependencies together. I think, and duration. Those two things are modern life time management principles.
Can I share with you what solved this for me? Because
Yeah.
I heard the word Gantt chart and I thought this was incredibly complicated. And I suddenly realized we use one almost every day of our lives, which is the TV guide. You look at the TV guide, and though this show runs till 7 o'clock, but this one starts at 6:30.
Exactly.
So how do I do this? And you look at that, and that's a Gantt chart.
That's a Gantt. I'm going to steal that one, Wayne, for my next conversation. That was great.
My gift to you.
Thank you. But that's exactly right. That a lot of these are principles that we do in real life that are just being raised up to institutionalize to be able to have repeatable success. So, giving it a shot, and then like you said, having this visible scoreboard, and it's easier than ever, particularly in a remote and hybrid environment, because people can just go on the cloud and pull it up, and we're all looking at it.
Absolutely. As I knew we would. I mean, we have filled lots of our time with really good stuff. If you are about to undertake your first project, and this is a critical thing for a lot of people, because this is how we make our bones as leaders, right? Is we very often, before we are actually managers, we head up a project or we head up a team. And this is our first kind of foray into leadership. So if somebody is about to undertake their first unofficial project, what are, other than take a deep breath and know it's going to be okay, what are a couple of key things that they need to do to arm themselves to get really prepared?
For leading a project, leading people, both?
Well, the one's a subset of the other, right?
So I think, what I said earlier, that you do have to realize that it's the people that are going to get the project done, not you, not we have a great process of scoping and planning and engaging and tracking and adapting and closing a project. The process is fine, but it means nothing unless they realize that people are the ones that are going to get this done for you. So as a leader, are you prepared, back to informal leadership, to help inspire your team to do that? And I'm going to go back to what I said before about the failure list. You have to be prepared to help yourself and the team scope this project in a way. I mean, there's so many things to talk about. Scope this project in a way that people have a clear line of sight. Because of all the things we can talk about from failure, once somebody says, well, I don't know, maybe we'll go this way or maybe we'll go that way. I'm in the middle of this right now with one of my own things. And it's like, you know what? We're not moving on until somebody comes clear on what the outcome is. And so I think for a leader, just knowing you got to get to clear outcomes and not having anything wishy-washy in the project, but know where we're going. Because for you, that's satisfying. And for your people, they'll be totally frustrated if you don't. So people first, scoping, clarity on end in mind second.
Absolutely terrific. Thank you so much, Kory. That's great stuff. If you are interested in learning more, first of all, the transcript from this conversation is available on longdistanceworklife.com. We will have links to Kory and Suzette's book and to their work and all of that good stuff, as we always do. Kory, thank you so much for being with us. This has been really terrific. And thanks for being with us on the Long Distance Work Life.
Thanks for having me, Wayne. It's been a pleasure.
Well, as always, thank you for being had. And for those of you who are listening, thank you for being here as well. This was a Marissaless episode. She will be with us in future episodes. If you want to contact myself or her, questions, comments, vicious personal attacks, ideas for episodes, by all means, reach out to us. We are available at longdistanceworklife.com. You know the drill. You listen to podcasts. If you enjoy this and want others to find us, please like and subscribe. We enjoy the heck out of hearing from you. And if you are interested in learning a little bit more about leading at a distance, check out our open enrollment public programs, the Long Distance Leadership Series. The URL is here, and it will also be in the show notes. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Wayne Turmel. Thank you for being with us on the Long Distance Work Life. Don't let the weasels get you down.